Okay, looking goodly. Now that all the bindings are done, the next thing would be to now define how you're going to control all the different parameters for things like the welds and the bolts and the plates and perhaps even the chamfers.
Alright, so in order to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and close this dialog box, and as some of you have asked before, we're also going to hide these plates so that they're not output. So we'll continue editing this. So I'm just going to right click, go to edit custom component. It will open up my 4 views again, and I can begin editing and modifying this. So first thing that I'm going to do is hide these plates so that they're not output. So I'm just going to come in here, and I could just navigate to it if I knew which one it was, but it's difficult to tell here. If I just select it in the model, it will highlight it for me within this custom component browser. So I'm just going to come in here to the general properties, and under creation I can right click and add an equation, and I'm just going to set that to 0, which means that this will not output when we save and close and then go back into the model. It's just going to be running in the background to help with the bindings. So I'll do the same for this part. Just right click, add equation, set that to 0. And we're going to come back and talk more about adding equations and things like that as we begin adding in these parameters. So I'm going to open up my variable list again, come down here to the bottom, and we'll begin adding in some parameters. So let me situate this. And there we should be in pretty good shape. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add in the parameters to control the chamfers. You'll notice if I click on this handle, I have a chamfer here that's applying this specific radius. There's also a chamfer on here applying this radius, and then we also have the decorative chamfer right here applying this, this specific chamfer property. So I'm going to come in and add 6 parameters so that we can control these. And then we'll link them to the chamfer properties. You'll notice here that as I select this handle or this contour plate, that within it, it has all of the different chamfer properties that can be controlled. So we'll go in and link all of that there. So let me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and add those. So I have P3 through P8. So I'll go ahead and set these up. And the way that this works is we're going to want to see the majority of these. So let me set up the names that we're going to look at. So this will be the bracket and chamfer type. We're going to set up a chamfer type, BEC, and we're also going to set up the X value that we can control like we would if we were using the dialog box. So I'll go ahead and set up inner.
So again, while Lee is typing that, you can see that what we've done before this webinar today is we've kind of decided what parameters we want to define, what parameters we want to offer the users to vary. So we've decided on that, and this is a good way when you're working with custom components, is to go ahead and decide what the parameters are going to be beforehand.
Right. And the next thing here under we're on P3, instead of setting this to length, we actually have an option in here to change this to chamfer type, and then we can set up what this value is that we want. So if I were to double click and bring up these chamfer options and hit the drop down up here at the top, this first one, if we wanted to use this one, that's going to start at 0. That's going to be the 0 position. This next one would be at the 1 position, 2, 3, and so forth. Okay, so this one that we're going to use is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So that will be at the number 3 position. So I'll go ahead and put that in for the formula, and it will know what I want. And the next one, I'll just leave it length, and we can just put in for the X value will be 3 inches. So I'll come down to my inner chamfer type. That's going to be at chamfer type position number 2. And we have 12 inches, I believe, for that one. And chamfer type, we'll set this up, is going to be position number 2 again.
So this is basically just setting up the defaults for the component. These you'll notice that these parameters are set to show, so the users will be able to vary these parameters as well.
Yep. So now what we'll do is, now that we've created these parameters, is that we need to link them to the actual chamfer properties within the custom component. So I'm going to just highlight this chamfer right here that tells me that this is chamfer property 3, and I'll just hit the drop down here, and under chamfer type I just need to match these variables. So the bracket n chamfer type, this decorative one right here, is P3. The x values is going to be P4. So I'll just right click, add equation, and type in, I'll just set that equal to P3. Do the same for x, set that equal to P4. And I can do that for all these other, if I can grab it, there we go. Set that for all of these decorative ones. So I'll just set these up real quick. P3, add equation P4, and do the same for the other ones. So P3, P4. So all of these are going to be controlled. They're going to be the same and all be identical. You change the property for one in the dialog box, you can control all of them. If you wanted to control them separate, then you would just set up more parameters and then link the associated parameter with that specific value.